I'm starting it.
Oh, is there a delay on it?
We are on air.
We are?
I think so. I think we are.
Oh, good.
Hi. Okay. Not a ton of people here, just the people that we like. I see Naomi, Gina, Lori Taylor, Robin. Yeah, now they can hear us. So hi. Okay, well, welcome to episode 1 of Be the Mentality. I am your host, Catherine Diane Meyer, known by most as Katie Meyer, and I am a Stanford women's soccer player. And my first guest today is my father, Steve Meyer.
Wait, I'm the first guest?
You're the first one, my guy.
Why would you do that?
Well, I'll tell you. So there was a lot of debate on how I wanted to do this first episode. I knew that I wanted to tell my story and set the tone for the rest of the series. Just so everyone's on the same page, for the rest of the series, my plan is to have members of the Stanford athletics community come onto the show and talk about what has made them great, what has made them suffer, how they've overcome it, everything about them. I want to pull behind the curtain out and see what is behind the curtain on some of the most successful people in the community, whether it's admin, professors, athletes, coaches, whoever I can get on the show. But I knew that I wanted to set the tone. And so I thought I would start with my own story. And I know that people have heard my story before, whether it's on random interviews or if it's just through following me. So I thought a way to tell it in a brand new, fresh perspective would be to bring my father on the show. Because I mean, you always see it from my side, but a big part of it was you. So I thought that I would get to the core of what has been your journey and then see from your perspective how my life has gone. Mm-hmm. And
not off to a good start.
Not off to a good start. But I'm super interested to see where this conversation will go because there are things about my journey that I don't even remember. And I'm sure that there are fears that you and mom have had that I haven't even known about. And it has not always been easy, but it has always been interesting and a process. Yeah. So that is how we're going to kick things off. And I guess the first question that I have for you, Dad, is tell us about yourself. Starting from the beginning, not a lot of people know this, but my family comes from the Midwest. Mm-hmm. And get to it.
We'll keep it short because we actually want people to watch the show. And I'm from Iowa, northern Iowa, out in the middle of the cornfields, Mason City to be precise. And we grew up in various places within the Mason City area. For a while, we lived on a farm. And that was interesting. We had some dogs and
Cows.
School bus ride, and there were some cows there.
Nice.
And tornadoes,
Herman.
and prairie fires, and all the fun things. And I had 2 sisters, one of which has passed away, and my other one still lives in Iowa. And let's see, I grew up, I was an athletic kid and a creative kid.
Lefty.
Left-handed and right-footed, and kind of a ambidextrous, ambipedal mess. And but I loved playing sports. I loved school, and eventually I went to the University of Iowa.
Okay, pause there.
But before I went there,
Pause there.
Go ahead, yes.
Pause there. When did you know that you wanted to go to college? Because in high school, you were waking up at the crack of dawn, stocking shelves in a grocery store.
That's true. Yep, Fairway Grocery. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 6 a.m. And back then we were in charge of our own aisle. And then we would unload the truck, stock the shelves, race off to school, try to get there in time. And then maybe go to basketball practice or whatever sports you were involved in, and then go back to the store that night and work. And it was a grind, but it was worth it in the end. Looking back, it helps. That kind of hard work, dedication, I think, helps create who you are. If everything is too easy and handed to you, it's tough to have an appreciation for how good you've had it. And we had a close family, tight family. And there's a side note that for those of you who don't know, I've worked with Katie, not only as her, but have helped her out through the years with soccer stuff in a weird kind of way. And I was thinking about it on my drive today. As obscure as this sounds, when I was in junior high and high school, I was the Iowa State horseshoe pitching champion for a few years.
3 years in a row.
Yeah.
3 in a row.
Records of which still stand.
Still stand. No one has beaten it.
There's something about that, as obscure and odd as that sounds, that equates to a lot of how I work with you, your sisters, and I work with other players these days as well. But we'll get into that, like why that odd metaphor works.
Okay. So you're stocking grocery store shelves.
Yes.
You're going to school.
Yes.
You're playing basketball.
Yes.
Maybe should have been playing baseball.
Maybe, yeah.
You're hanging out with your friends. You're on the farm.
Yeah.
What made you think that there could be more? Did you always want to go to college?
I really didn't know, to be really honest. Like, I wasn't sure. I was a really good student. Perhaps a little directionless at times. And
what does that mean? You're naturally sharp.
Yeah, I think sometimes in life, if you're kind of good at a lot of different things, but maybe don't focus in on being great at one thing, you can get a little rudderless at times.
Right.
And,
right.
I had a good friend of mine whose father was a teacher, and he had understood that I hadn't applied to go to college yet. And he was like, "What's the matter with you?" And so that's how I ended up embarking at the University of Iowa, by and large. And yeah, it was a fun time there too, as well.
You were in a great college city.
Yes.
You got out of the small town for.
Yeah.
Was that the first time that you ever kind of got out of that town?
Yeah, I mean, we would take different trips to different parts of Iowa, but not too far away. And we'd go up into Minnesota occasionally, by and large, actually, for horseshoe tournaments. And that was our family. And it was fun in a way, you know.
Right.
You only know what you know.
Right.
Right. And so for me, a huge trip, once a year, was from Mason City, 110 miles south to Des Moines, to the state fair, to play in the state championships.
Okay.
Because my grandfather played horseshoe, my dad played horseshoe, and they were actually very good coaches for me.
Pass down what you learned.
Exactly.
It's
correct.
the Jedi mindset.
Yes.
Pass down what you've learned.
They were both very good players. My sisters are great players. They both won state championships as well. And it equates into any sport, actually. Like, excellence does not happen by accident. You have to work on your craft and not get lost in the pursuit of perfection per se, but just when you have it, now you start to match it and understand that you have it, and you don't need to necessarily top something that's already great. You know?
Right. Okay, so you get to Iowa, you get into this big city for the first time.
Yes.
Did you know what you wanted to study or do when you got to college? How did you figure that out?
I'm not sure that I ever did.
Okay.
I was interested in possibly the medical world. I was interested in economics. I was interested in history. I ended up becoming a television writer for 25 years. And ironically enough, the University of Iowa has a world-renowned writers
classic
workshop program. And I would walk by that building oftentimes, just kind of look over there and go, maybe I should dip in there.
No. Right.
And I'd hustle off to class or go to the field house to play some pickup basketball.
Okay. So how did you end up writing?
Well, after I moved here to Southern California, even though we're at Stanford right now, but
correct.
I moved to Los Angeles with a friend of mine. And as I had said earlier, when I was young, I was athletic and I needed to do something that was fairly stable when I first moved here. So I became a fitness trainer. And I do like working with people a great deal. And I found that it was an interesting job and I could help people. I didn't work with like world-class athletes. I worked with moms and dads and people who are busy lives. And many of them worked in the show business world. And while I was dishing out the pain, I would make them laugh with stories of my rural Midwestern youth.
Right. When
and one of them suggested, maybe you should get into writing. Maybe you should do that. I hadn't thought about it. And
so you didn't move to California to be a writer?
Not specifically, no.
Why'd you move?
I think some kids, not all, some, when you grow up in the same place and in the same area and don't get out a lot, when the opportunity comes to maybe go somewhere else wildly different, and you've seen that place on TV shows such as Chips and Three's Company and all these shows that we watched when we were kids, they were always like glamorizing Southern
Hollywood,
California.
Hollywood side.
Watching the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. Wow, that place looks amazing. There's 3 feet of snow outside right now.
You're seeing Tom Cruise walk down the street.
Yeah, my dog almost froze to death 5 minutes ago. But look at that on TV. It's amazing. So
California sold you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The imagery of it, sure.
Okay,
absolutely.
So you kind of hopped on the road and never looked back.
Yeah.
And obviously you left someone very important behind in Iowa.
Your mother?
My mother. Right. So the story goes, how I heard it, is that my dad and my mom meet in Greek mythology class. And then again at a college bar, and my mom does the old classic, write her number on the napkin trick, hands it to Steve. Next thing you know, they're hanging out. And a few months later, she follows you to California.
That's a very short version of it. But
Okay. Yeah. And
we did meet in Greek mythology class.
Right.
And we met on the last day of it.
Why?
Because during the semester, I would go sit in the back. And she was up front.
Like a good student. Okay.
And we'd catch each other's eye once in a while. But each of us were probably a little too shy to approach. Plus, there's like 300 students in a massive lecture hall.
Okay, I haven't been in any of those types of classes at Stanford. Everything is like you meet them on the first day.
Yeah, well, public school.
Private school.
Okay. Anyway, so the last day for the final, I had been up most of the night trying to cram a semester's worth of work into one evening.
I take after you, man. I've been there.
And I was walking down the hallway, and I was probably appearing like I was homeless or, and
not the best first move.
Not the best, but there she was in the hall. And I thought, well, if I can strike up a conversation with her now, looking like this, I got no place to go but up. And sure enough, we struck up a conversation. And then, yes, I didn't see her again for a long time. And then we ended up on a triple date where she was dating somebody else and I was dating somebody else. And
which friends did you bring?
What's that?
Which friends were with you?
No, it was her people.
Okay, and you had 2 guys.
Coincidentally, yeah, but her girlfriends.
And their boyfriends. And then you.
And then me.
So you're kind of odd man out.
Yeah, a little bit, but I was sitting across from her in the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked the whole time. And then I didn't see her again for months and months and months. Until then, yes, I saw her in the bar. And then we had our first date.
Okay.
Which was really romantic.
What did you do?
We went to the library.
You went to the library?
Yeah.
Why?
Why not?
Did you study?
Studied her.
Oh, ew, gross. Okay, so the library goes well, and then eventually she follows you out to California.
Right. This is the difference between her and I,
Mm-hmm.
for better or for worse, is I came to California with no plan.
Right.
And she came with a plan. And she had a job and was totally organized as that.
Yeah, she was balling. She was working at Warner Brothers as a fitness instructor, and she had her life together, I guess.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
She's the best. Hi, Mom. And then obviously you guys get married.
Yes.
And Sam is born.
Yes.
And then I'm born.
Yes.
And then 7 years later, Sienna is born.
Right.
So I have two sisters. Okay, let's relax at that. But I have two sisters, one of which is 2 years older than me. And then young Sienna is 15 years old, and she is a young baller of a soccer player. So you guys become parents.
Yes.
And eventually we moved school districts.
We did.
So then we could go to a better school.
Yes.
Right.
We wanted the best for you guys from the beginning. And whether that's your schooling or your home life or just the love you guys feel as little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom and I are sometimes very different, but I think we have an extreme commonality in that. And that started from day one. And we were in an area where the public school system was not so good. Mm-hmm. And we wanted, when your older sister started kindergarten, for her to be in an amazing school district. And so we moved about 40 miles from where we lived so that she could have that. And that got her off to a great start. And look at her now. She's a teacher. Yeah.
My older sister is a 5th grade teacher, and she's killing it. She just got married this last summer, and it was amazing. And she is so different than I am, and I'd love to get her on the show eventually. And we're cut from a different cloth, but the same cloth. Correct. In the sense that I feel like we really are reaching for excellence in our own separate ways.
Yes.
And she's one of my best friends, which is so funny because we probably could not be more different. She's a Ravenclaw. Well, she'll tell you she's a Slytherin, but that's a lie. And I'm a Slytherin. So it's quite different. Okay, so then young Katie is born.
Mm-hmm.
And I am born with a lot of fire.
That's true.
When did you know, or did you ever know, that I may have some potential with sports?
We're still waiting to find out.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Fairly early on, your sister Samantha played soccer in various sports too, and your mom and I always wanted you guys to try it all, try different things.
Right.
We never put a specific ball in front of either of you, and
never a basketball.
No. And Samantha tried gymnastics, volleyball, all these different things. She even tried soccer, and she stopped playing soccer when she was 10. And I drove her home from that last game, and she was sitting in the back seat. And this is classic Samantha. She's like, "Dad?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I know myself and I know this." I go, "What's that?" "I'm not a soccer player." I'm like, "Okay." And by the way, she's correct.
True.
But,
sure. Girl does not have the best ankles in the world.
She's very competitive, but not or very athletic, but not in
that
she's not
way.
She's not
super coordinated.
Yeah.
Not super coordinated. No dance though.
She ended up being a teacher though, because remember school in the summer that she did. Like this is, I guess, an example of why we wanted to always support you guys with whatever you do. Is like Samantha she had a concept for, I want to run my own school in the summer. And I think she was in 4th.
It was 4th grade because I was in 2nd grade.
So I got this little 10-year-old girl telling me she wants to run her own school during the summer. So I felt, and your mom felt, that like that's a great endeavor for a little 10-year-old.
Right.
Let's support that.
Right.
And she did it. She came up with her own curriculum,
right.
her own schedule for the day for these kids, and people would drop their kids off.
She would have the workbooks. We would go to Barnes and Nobles, and Sam would get like 3 workbooks. She would figure out what grade they were going into.
Right.
And she would get that workbook. So when I was going into 3rd grade from 2nd grade, she'd get the 3rd grade workbook and teach me the material.
Correct.
So then going into 3rd grade after the summer, I already knew what I was talking about.
Correct.
I mean, if a kid figures out what path they want to go down, it is truly amazing how far they will go on their own when they're
Yes.
the ones fueling it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
for me, it just happened to be soccer.
Right. For your sister, it was education. And so we certainly didn't want to stop that for her. So we supported her in any possible way that we could. For you, you were always an athletic little kid. You did gymnastics. You did a few other little sports.
Horseback riding was big for me.
Yeah.
Ice skating was also pretty big for me.
I knew you might have something when your sister was playing soccer still. She was about 9, so that would have made you 7-ish.
Mm-hmm.
She might have been 8 and you were 6, roughly. We were in the backyard, and I was a former basketball player, so I didn't know how to kick a ball very well.
Right.
And we were playing soccer, Samantha and I, and you wanted to be the goalkeeper. And these, when Katie mentioned earlier, there's something she may not remember from her point of view, but that I remember. This might be one of those moments. I think you were 6, 7, right in there. And Samantha and I were kicking it around, and you wanted to be the goalkeeper. We didn't even really have a goal set up. You were just in an area.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty much your gauntlet was thrown by saying, just try to kick it past me. And so Sammy and I are playing, and then finally she passed to me, and I tried to kick it past you, but it's every father's nightmare at times.
Did it smack me in the face?
Well, I kicked it pretty hard.
Oh.
And it blasted you in the chest. And
okay, as long as it wasn't in the face.
No, it wasn't in the face. Blasted you in the chest, knock you down. You get up and you go, "Is that all you got?" I'm like, "Oh, we have something here." And
that's so funny.
Then you ended up, of course, getting involved in our neighborhood soccer team.
But I was a forward.
But you were a forward. But I could tell you loved it. You loved being outside. You loved your teammates. The whole vibe, the moms were
I liked
amazing.
the bubblegum babes.
Yeah, it was the bubblegum babes.
Yep.
And you had your little headphones on before the games.
Kickstart my heart.
Yeah.
I was the type of kid that when I was playing forward, I would growl at the other children.
That's not an exaggeration.
No,
at
it's
all.
not. It's dead ass. My favorite movie growing up was Lion King and Spirit, which is a movie about a wild Mustang.
Yes.
And I was obsessed with animals, and I was like, well, I'm gonna freak these other kids out. And I would just literally look them in the eye, growl at them,
yes,
and then continue running. And I was bagging up goals. I was bagging like three goals a game, probably. I was really, really good at AYSO just because I was really competitive. And then I got to club.
Yeah, someone suggested, hey, your daughter's pretty athletic and competitive. She should try club.
That was in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And FC United, the bright orange, tangerine orange uniforms. I was number 86, maybe. And I was a forward. And something that I really struggled with, actually, was being left-footed.
Yes.
All the drills in training were set up for right-footed kids. So in my mind, I would have to reverse engineer them to make them work for my left foot. It would be like, do a soul behind this cone, or do an L turn, do a step over hook. And so everyone's doing them going to the right. And I would either have to use my right or be like, okay, if they're doing a step over hook, I have to do a scissor. And I would have to like kind of reverse engineer things. It made me look uncoordinated. It made me look clumsy. And I ended up playing like 2 minutes a game.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Every half.
And that, like, for any parents out there watching that are in the sports world or the club world or whatever, that's when there was a shift that happened in our life as parents, because we had gone from taking you to a game a half a mile away at the park against a different neighborhood team.
Right.
To now we're up at 5 a.m. We're in the car by 5:45 because we have to be 95 miles away for you to play a soccer game that starts at 8 o'clock, but you got to be there at 7.
Right.
And I'm driving across Southern California at that time of day going, aren't there any teams anywhere near where we live? Why are we driving so far? And that's a little foreshadowing of what came later for you. But that was interesting because we would drive all that way. And
for me to get 2 minutes every half.
Get 2 minutes. And it was a little frustrating for you, I'm sure. For
no,
me, I didn't know enough about the sport yet at that time to understand that, like, okay.
This gets typical sometimes for
and
kids.
I just like spending time with you.
Right. So the drive for us was fun. Now, this is my question. Was I like visibly upset about not playing, or did I just not realize that I wasn't?
It was a slow build. Like in the beginning, I think you were just kind of happy to be part of it.
Right.
And then over time, I think you could sense like, this is not right for me.
Right.
It's not going to work for me.
Right. And so that's when Andy Pringle sits me down.
Right.
At the end of season.
Yes.
And basically is like, Katie, you're going to be on B team, basically.
And Andy was her club coach
at the time.
Yeah. And basically cut you.
Yeah. And I got sent to the B team.
Yep.
I just remember kind of realizing that I think that was the first time, because as kids, you don't have a lot of ways to compare yourselves, because not like in third grade, kids are really comparing grades or like comparing who has the cooler pair of shoes on the playground. Like you always just think that you're good enough. And I remember that being the first time where I felt really, really rejected.
Mm-hmm.
And going from the A team to that first B team practice, I just remember being like, how am I here? Like, this is embarrassing almost. So I went in being like, these girls don't take it as seriously. These girls aren't as good. There's not as many of us, because it was like kind of like the leftover players.
Right.
And we didn't have a goalkeeper.
True. And even that moment was kind of odd for your mother and I, because we knew you were really competitive. We had to finally understand, for some reason, like, you're not good enough currently for what the game is demanding of you.
Right.
And that's a little bit like, and we didn't know. The town I grew up in, I was aware that soccer existed as a sport.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I ever saw a soccer ball.
Mm.
Literally, like none of my friends had soccer balls.
Interesting.
Yeah, never saw it. So we knew nothing about it, and we just assumed, okay, that's fine. And then you got put on the B team, and then somebody suggested possibility of being a goalkeeper.
In my memory, I remember there not being a goalkeeper and me being like, I should try that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to be on the A team, and I was like, maybe I'm just in the wrong position.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking you and Mom to let me try, and you both just being like, no, like zero chance.
Right.
And me being like, please, 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 please. And then we went to Sports Chalet, which was like the sporting goods store in our town, bought like the $10 pair of goalkeeper gloves.
Yes.
And they were like yellow and black, and they were Nike, and just kind of starting.
Right. But your mother and I were not fond of it, because you were our precious little angel, and we weren't really comfortable with the notion of like soccer balls being blasted at you.
Right.
I'd already done that to you in the backyard by mistake a couple of years earlier. So, and here's the tag team work of your mom and I is, I think, great for what's helped you, because she would do all kinds of research on the internet about everything.
Right.
And then I would take you outside and try to figure stuff out. But we were also at that point very, very protective of you.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first couple of years of you being a goalkeeper, I had you wearing flexible knee pads. But the first couple moments of you being a keeper, we were trying to find headgear for you. We were trying to essentially bubble wrap you.
Not the headgear.
And fast forward to like the second team that you were on in club, there was a moment where it had finally arrived from the magical world of the internet at the time, because it was kind of new at the time. I had found...
This is so dumb. This is so dumb.
This is so great. I was so worried about my precious little one here that I was looking for headgear that was kind of like, not like an NFL football helmet by any means,
but kind of
something.
Kind of.
And so I found this obscure company online that sold like basically a silver foam Trojan helmet.
It looked like a helmet that a wrestler would wear.
Or
an astronaut.
Or someone in like a Roman army would wear.
If they were protecting their heads with foam.
Correct.
And it was metallic silver.
Yes.
And I remember wearing it during one training.
This thick, the foam on it.
It gave me a headache. It was squeezing my skull. And my ponytail didn't work in it. So I think I was wearing like a low ponytail, which was not great. And
so I had her in a helmet, knee pads, and I think sleeve elbow pads.
And the long shorts, the long slider shorts that were also padded.
Yes. And her coach at the time, great guy.
Sergio
Salvadori, amazing. He came up to me, and I was just getting to know him because Katie was new to his team. He's like, Mr. Meyer. No. But I'm like, no, Sergio, she's my baby. I want to protect her. And no. the helmet is
the helmet's gotta go. The helmet's gotta go. I looked like I was like top heavy running around. I would dive an extra 2 feet because there was so much weight on my head.
The only sad part about that whole story is that I don't have a picture.
No, there's never a photo.
No
I would never allow it. I would never allow it. I would never allow it.
And the helmet was probably tossed in a dumpster that evening.
Certainly. Once he gave me a headache, I was like, this is distracting, Dad. I'm not doing this.
Yes. But going back to when you'd been cut, your coaches suggested maybe being a goalkeeper. You thought about it. Mom and I were like freaking out because she's looking up everything on the internet. Like,
there was a chance of
this happening. There's a chance of that happening.
I think the biggest thing was, and this goes kind of for any parent, is the pressure.
Yes.
Knowing that your kid is going to be the one who's getting scored on.
Right. Bringing shame to the family
name. And that's happened. And like, what happens when your kid gets nutmegged for the first time? What happens when your kid gets chipped? Right. What happens when your kid turns the ball over and it ends up being a goal? Right. Like, what do you do? Right. And that was probably the most intimidating thing for me going in, was like the first time I got scored on, being like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like, I have to go get the ball out of the net.
Right.
It's a different type of pressure, and there was a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Like, how do you teach someone to take a goal kick or punt a ball when like there's no blueprint, you know?
Right. And from the parent point of view, like, I had a code. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever watched Dexter, but he had a code. And my code to keep me like calm was like, it's a sport. Goals are going to happen as long as there's no just sheer giveaways. And maybe once or twice you make a save, a game that nobody expected. That's all you can do. But even if there is a giveaway or one of those moments, I think we don't always do everything right as parents. But I think that one thing that might have helped you is that we never got on you about it.
Right.
We tried to go, okay, let's go to the drawing board here. Let's talk about what happened. And how can we come up with something that might fix that? Because when you first started, if it was a high looping ball and it kind of went through your hands or something, well, you were just getting started. So instead of getting after you about it, let's figure out how we can help you with that. And so I would throw balls to you and over and over and over so you could get the mechanics of that, you know, for good or for bad. You know, it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a little bit of a natural. I had the hand-eye coordination.
That part's
I
true.
wasn't super afraid of like diving and all that stuff. So it wasn't like, I was a bit of a natural. I remember really loving it. And we always wanted to do extra.
Right.
And that is when we eventually made the move to Eagles.
Right. You spent a season with United with Andy. And that's when he came up to me before a game and said, hey, do you want to warm her up? I'm like, I'll try. I don't know.
Oh my God. I always forget about this phase of our life.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time where like
neither
one of us kind of knew what we were doing.
No,
you know,
no, ever.
And,
ever.
Then you had a game late in that season against Magic, who was the big club in town, the Sergio that we talked about earlier. She wasn't on Sergio's team yet. She was on a little entry-level team. And you had a great game against Sergio. And I remember telling your mom, I think we're going to get a call about you the next day or soon because you did so well. And sure enough, we did. Then you went to play for Sergio for a year. And that was amazing. Like you guys hit it off great. He had an assistant that helped you with goalkeeping a great deal. And I think he appreciated your fire. And we just always tried to support you in any way we could. And then that was moving along well. And then we had a fellow parent on that team who had heard about these bigger clubs. He knew about them because he was more steeped in the soccer world than we were.
A league called the ECNL.
Right. Yes. And he thought that his daughter and you should go try out for one of those teams. And it was like 50 miles away from where we lived at that time. And I remember I was at work that day. You first went to try out. Your mom took you. Mm-hmm. And I guess they wanted you.
Yes. And the coach said he knew from the warm-up.
Correct. And for any of you goalkeepers out there, young goalkeepers, coaches watch you during warm-ups. There's another warm-up story that I can bring up later.
There is. There definitely is.
It means a lot because they can just check your energy and see how intense you are and how you're taking it.
Right.
It's important. So anyway, we were faced with this conundrum because she was clearly competitive and was showing
Very.
an aptitude for this position on the field, and she was understanding that she might be able to help her team
Right.
in that position
But-
and make an impact here and there.
But the team was 45 minutes to an hour away.
Right. And by the way, she had another sister.
I did.
You-
I did.
Yeah. And we had to figure all of this stuff out. In fact, it was a tough move because mostly it was your mom, Gina, driving you back and forth to practice.
Right.
Because at that time I was on a show called How to Rock. That's a whole other story. And so I was gone a lot. And so it got to be a lot. And then we floated the idea of possibly moving. I think before even telling you, your mom and I talked about it. We were in a position where maybe we could do it. We wanted to give it some time to see if like this is really, truly kind of working out or not. And so I'd say after about 6 to 8 months, it looked like, okay, this is a thing. We were in a position to move, and we just said, all right, we're going to take a little left turn in our life.
Right.
And it worked because your older sister was going to be a freshman in high school.
Right.
And you were going to be starting middle school. And my favorite daughter was going to be starting kindergarten. And so it was perfect timing.
Favorite daughter.
It was perfect time to try it.
Right.
And so for the sake of daughter number 2, we moved for the second time. We moved once for Samantha for school, got that figured out, and now we were going to move again for both soccer and for school. We moved to an area that has great schools, thankfully.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I just remember like getting a taste of that team
Right.
and those athletes,
Right.
and then going back to Santa Clarita and being
Well-
like, I want to be in that
Well,
environment.
and by the way, it's not like you didn't adore the teammates that you had.
I loved
You
them.
did.
They
You
were
had some
great.
great friends, and you
They
probably
were
still
great.
communicate with some of them to this
Yeah.
day. It was just like, I think you got a taste of that other level.
Right. And I was like,
you
I
were
want to be on
thirsting
that
for it.
level. I want to be on that team. I want
Right.
to play in those tournaments.
And we made a deal with you. This is the parent side of it. I remember saying, well, if you want to be at that level, fine. But
Mhm.
then you have to put in the work to do it, to make it legit. Because
Right.
otherwise it's a fool's errand. Like it has to be. And we'll support you in any way we can.
Right.
And it's also okay if you don't want to be at that level. We just have to be honest with yourself and us about it. And it was an adventure, that's for sure.
Right. And then next thing you know, I get invited to go into the national team.
Yeah. But that abbreviates it quite a bit.
That abbreviates it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Your time at Eagles was filled with a lot of like extra work.
Correct.
So again, not by self-admitting, I have many flaws in my life, not always doing everything right, that's for sure. But I guess one thing I could say to any young athletes watching is put work in on the margins, meaning like I would race to practice from working in LA area to get there to watch you for like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ditching those cops in my Prius. But then we would stay for like an extra
Till it got dark outside.
3 minutes, an extra
Right.
10 minutes, an extra 15 minutes, whatever. And we would play catch. We'd work on your kicks. We would run sprints. Back when I used to be faster than you.
That was
Sadly,
always
those
the
days are
worst.
over.
That was
And,
always the worst.
That's the best. And I think that extra work that you put in
Right.
has helped you get to where you got. And I think that extra work that you put in helped you get your first invite to a national team camp, because it wasn't on.
Well, I remember what it was.
Mhm.
It was one of the scouts for the full team at the time. One of the full team coaches was at one of the ECNL events and saw me hit this was the quote that I got on the phone, was a 40-yard left-footed pass
Mhm.
that was in the air.
Mhm.
And I was, 15 at the time? That was something not a lot of 15-year-olds could do.
Mhm.
And that is what got me the invite. Because
Yeah.
at that point, I'd been working with Jordan King for a while.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, I'm getting like good. I'm seeing girls get called into these camps.
Right.
And I'm just not.
Right.
Because I was even considered late.
Yeah.
They had gone through a whole cycle of that U15, U14 national team that I just hadn't been invited
Right.
to. And I remember comparing myself and seeing these girls on Instagram, like getting into camps and just being like, why am I not there? And then it's almost ironic that it happened on one pass.
Right. Yeah. It
because
wasn't
I
some
used
kind
to
of save that you made.
No,
It was like,
no, it was one pass.
right.
And I used to not be able to kick the ball over a 6-foot fence.
Correct. We did something called Operation Goal Kick.
Correct.
That
Steven owes me about $1,000 because we would just make bets. Like, oh, I bet I could kick it farther than you, or I bet I can kick it over this.
We would try to kick it over. Well, she would try to kick it over little fences, over the little buildings at her elementary school. We were trying to figure it out, and trying to find someone that could help teach her that as well. And it was kind of, because it's kind of a counterintuitive kick for those of you who don't know what a goal kick is. There may be some that don't. It's when the ball is just placed there, and a player approaches it and boom, launches it like a golf shot. And I also did some internet research and found players that could do it well, and kind of reverse engineered it as well between Jordan King, who was an amazing help for you, and myself with the repetitions and kind of reverse engineering it. Finally, ironically, you started figuring it out. And the thing you struggled the most with was the thing that got noticed to allow you to go to your first youth national team camp.
Right.
And so that's pretty neat.
And that was
one other funny sidebar. Sorry about this.
Ahead.
This era in her life, her older sister, the teacher, through this run of from 12 to 15, 16, Samantha, especially before she got her driver's license and before she made friends with girls who would drive, she would come to the games a little bit begrudgingly. Just a little. Like, they got along great.
She didn't come a lot, though.
She didn't come a lot, but she did in the beginning because she wasn't old enough for us to be comfortable enough to leave her home alone. And then we had Sienna. And so Samantha would come and we set up a pink tent for her. Do you remember the pink tent?
I do now.
Yeah, you do now, don't you?
I do now.
The game would be happening and your mom and I would be there watching you play. And over there is a little pink tent under a tree or whatever. And inside is this girl reading all kinds of books and taking her notes and just in her own little world. Right. And it was pretty great. Yeah. And then there, but yet she kind of would keep half an eye on the game secretly at times, I think, and your sister is the best. I remember her a couple times going, "Is the tent in the car?
Is the tent in the car?"
Yes. So it was fun. We tried to keep it, about her as well, because there was a time, in fairness to her, where it might have felt like everybody loves Katie. It's all about Katie, but we wanted to keep it so she felt like she had a trip too, because we would go to these tournaments and events and we would try to find eclectic places that she liked, and things that she was interested in. I
mean, she definitely has that spirit of adventure.
For sure.
So she liked it. She just didn't like that it was we're going for soccer.
Right.
But eventually she got really into it, and now she really likes watching Sienna and I play.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. But back to kind of, I guess, the broader plot.
Sure.
Is then this next phase of my life was month in and month out national team camps.
Correct.
And I just remember every time I'd get that email inviting me to the next camp, I'd just burst into tears.
Yes. Because you never know what you're getting again.
I was shocked.
Yeah. And it was a challenge for you with school. Mm-hmm. And that phase of your life was definitely a challenge for your mom and I, because even though we were both gainfully employed, we didn't have crazy incomes, and the club soccer world is very expensive. And we were traveling to Dallas, to Utah 3 summers in a row, to Seattle a couple summers. It's a lot. And it was we were rolling the dice a little bit because we kind of saw it in you, the potential. And we felt like if we could support you in any way we feasibly could, that's our job as parents, in my opinion. And that's how we just looked at it. And so it was kind of gratifying for us to a degree, yet surreal, that you were going to these places, these camps about every month.
But it was hard.
Yes.
And
that's the other side of it.
That's the other kind of ugly underbelly of the youth soccer world.
Right.
Is that it is really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's something kind of messed up in my mind about every time I would get that email from US Soccer, I would lose it because I just couldn't believe it. And it was terrifying in a sense. And I would go to these camps, whether it was in Virginia or Florida or Michigan, be away from my family for a week. And as a high schooler, as like a 15, 16-year-old, that creates such an interesting perception of reality in your mind, where you're also just like, well, I'm that kid. I guess like I miss school. I have these cool friends from all over the country. And this goes kind of back to what I was saying earlier about me being kind of late to the scene, was a lot of these girls already really knew each other. And it was hard to break into that group of girls who had been together for a year and a half, a year. And I was also playing up.
Yes.
And so that wasn't easy either because I was younger. I definitely didn't get it. I wanted to make friends really bad. And I was the third keeper. And a lot of the times only two keepers go to international things. So I would be invited to a bunch of domestic camps. And then when it went international to like a big trip to Spain, I would be the one that was cut. And I would be devastated. And I think I didn't get invited to qualifiers when I was in the U17 team. And then I was one of the last players cut from that World Cup team.
Right.
And this was after I had committed to Stanford. And it was the summer going into my sophomore year of high school, I think. And it was a camp in Michigan. And it was a 2-week long camp. And after this camp, they were set to make that U17 World Cup roster.
Right.
And the coach calls me down to the lobby halfway through camp.
Right.
And basically sits me down and goes, "You're not going." And I just remember being not surprised because he had called in 5 goalkeepers and normally we only had 3, and I had been on that team for about a year, and I really thought I was going, and you know, he kind of led me to believe that I was. And then the next thing you know, I'm packing up my stuff in my hotel room, getting into the van and flying home that night.
Right.
And I just remember I thought my world was ending. Like I thought it was like crashing down. I was like, I'm the biggest failure. I didn't know how I was going to tell my future college coach. I was so ashamed and terrified because my entire identity was being that soccer player. So going back to high school and having to tell all my friends, like, yeah, remember how I said I was like excited for the World Cup that I might be going to? I actually got cut. I'm not going.
And in the parent point of view, and retrospectively thinking at times, and like taking like almost like looking out for someone's mental health in a way. Right. Especially when it's your own child, you know. And you had so much invested in that with your energy and emotion and all that went into it. You know, you come home and it's okay.
Right.
Like, I still love you for you, right?
Right.
Your mom's still making you pancakes in the morning. You know, I'm still giving you bad dad jokes. Like, it's okay, right? Because you don't want to let that necessarily, at that age, it's really, at any age, really, it's difficult to not let something like that define you.
Right.
This is who I am. I'm on this team. This is who I am. I write for this television show. This is who I am. This is my vocation, you know, and then suddenly when that gets flipped on its head,
you're totally lost.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And, you know, your mom and I were super sad for you, but yet at the same time, we wanted to give you a soft landing when you came home because you're still our kid, you know, and that would have been a terrible thing for us to have done to do anything other than that, you know, because we'd always also been thinking about your sisters and the long run journey of everything, you know, and we wanted you to keep carrying on.
Yeah. And that shook my confidence for a long time. I remember, so I didn't get to go to that. And instead, it was almost like when I got cut from the A team and had to go to like the B team and be on that team. Instead, I got invited to a camp that was for my age group. And I just remember going and wishing I was at that World Cup because it was the same time. I ended up not performing very well. And then I was in and out of camps until my freshman year of college. And I just remember being like so jaded, but at the same time, really excited for college soccer.
Right.
And going in prepared. And even though my confidence was shaken by getting cut from the 17s, I never stopped working extra with you, because I think at the end of the day, and like this is kind of the secret, this is like the trick of the trade, the extra work was what made it fun. Like that was the constant, was like going to the Trader Joe's parking lot and like working on like random things in the mall parking lot and going to Borchard and doing extra and staying late. That's the constant. That's the wind in the sail, or at least like the rudder is like, even if I'm getting cut, I still know like ball return machine is going to feel fun for me.
What's the ball return machine?
The ball return machine
sounds like a highly technical like device.
No, bro. No, not at all.
Like a really fancy gym, like cutting edge technology.
Toka.
Yes.
Toka. No. It was Steve sitting there on his knees in the grass and using his hands to act as a human ball return machine for me. And I would just pass into his hands and
this all started, by the way, because years ago, I tried to kick a ball with you.
Right.
And my feet were useless.
So bad.
And
I would get
like,
pissed.
Dad, just use your hands. Just put your feet away. Just use your hands.
I still get pissed, and I still get mad and impatient. And the guy has good hands. He was a basketball player, so you used a lot of that in goalkeeper training. And that extra work was, I think, what gave me half of a chance. Because I'm still short for a goalkeeper, and
I think it does. I don't know. Again, I'm only guessing here, or at least making an educated guess based on what I've seen, which is kind of circling back to sort of this healthy mindset for all of this, and looking at your journey from a father point of view. I saw like all the pressure inside the club world,
right?
You know, and you would come off of practices once in a while that maybe didn't go your way, and you felt terrible. Your coach got on you, whatever, and maybe that was your coach's job. By the way, who knows? You know, looking back, I wanted a respite for you somewhere mentally, because the position you play is tough, and I wanted to always make it fun, you know, and weird at times.
True.
Like, you want to work on punts? Should we go to the field? No. Let's go to the grocery store parking lot at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Why? Well, because there's no cars there. The lights are on, and you can see what it feels like to just blast a soccer ball in a wide open parking lot, right? Or going into the mall parking garage or whatever it is, you know. I think it's good for you guys as young athletes to do things that are a little left turny here and there. And I do the same with your little sister and others that I work with now. But then, the high school thing started, and then you didn't make that World Cup team, which was very sad. And then
it's a big letdown.
You were about to come here to Stanford, and you were super prepared.
I was ready.
And
but
you knew that there was two older goalkeepers.
I did know that. And I don't know why. Maybe it's like the optimist in me, which can sometimes, I think, be one of my biggest weaknesses, is I really, really think that if I like put my mind to something, like, why not? Mm-hmm. And the coaches have been talking to me saying like, oh, be ready to like compete for time,
sure,
which is their job. Obviously they want all their players to come in ready.
Yeah.
And I really thought like, I can do this. I can't wait. I can't wait to be playing. And at the time I was like the captain of my club team. Mm-hmm. And I was like this big shot, like kind of just like high school athlete, like pretty like well known in our like really smallish town. Like, mm-hmm. And I just remember like getting sat down on week 2 of freshman year by Hideki. And he was like, you're going to redshirt. You're not going to play a single game this season. Mm-hmm. And it took me right back to that hotel in Michigan where it was just like, damn it. Like, I'm still not good enough. And it took me back to getting sat down by Andy Pringle as like a 9-year-old. Like, you're not good enough. You're not good enough for this team. You're not forward. Go be on the B team. And it just felt like I can't do this. Like, I just must not be as good as I think that I am. And I was so confused because I was like, I work so hard. I want it so bad. I love it so much. It just doesn't, like, no one else believes me. And there wasn't a lot I could do. I couldn't talk my way out of it. I couldn't like perform better. And it was heartbreaking for me. And I really struggled that freshman fall because, again, like when you are coming into a college environment and you can't prove yourself through your play, like it's hard to break into that team where it is very merit based. And so I felt like, yeah, I could be friends with the girls off of the field, but they never really like could respect what I brought to the table. It almost felt like I wasn't really contributing anything to the team.
That's probably that is what it felt like to you. And then from other perspectives, like from mine, at least, and I remember we got into some texting about it and probably talked about it on the phone. You were upset and angry. I actually thought it was a blessing in disguise. But I've always had kind of that longer, because I'm your dad, I had that longer run view for you, you know? And I thought for me, I'm like, you're at Stanford. You get to watch and participate in practice every day and train with these girls. You get to see what it's going to be like on the day-to-day with your coaches, traveling. Where do we go to pick up the bus? How do we do all this stuff? Like all these things, you get to learn the lay of the land. And I always felt to a certain degree, and still do sometimes, that you're more of a late developing athlete. And so I'm like, it's okay. Go train there for a year. Just get better. And it's not the answer you wanted to hear at the time.
No, it was not. No, it wasn't.
But I think in retrospect, it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. And I think it also gave me a lot of perspective. And I will say, like, I did not think it was a blessing in disguise. There like was not a single part of me that was like, oh, this is going to be great.
But you were able to turn the corner, because your mom and I talked to you about this. Like, well, what can you do? What can you bring to the team?
Right.
Can you be Pity Patty Party over there? Pity Party Patty. Sorry.
That was close.
Close. That was close. And, or are you going to be like hyping everybody and getting after it? And yes, thankfully you chose the latter.
Yeah. Because ultimately, like, it was a cool team to be a part of. I mean, we were winning the Pac-12 and like everyone was so nice and like really like just such talented athletes. Like every day was inspiring, and it did kind of like, it was hard because I wasn't getting those reps in training. So I had to kind of, again, put my identity in worth and other things, which again may have been the true blessing in disguise, was because I wasn't this like big shot athlete yet. I got really close to my freshman dorm, and I took really, really hard classes my freshman fall because I was like, well,
get after it.
If soccer's not my thing, if I'm not that good, I'm at least going to get an education at Stanford, which was probably the biggest blessing. So I threw myself into like really challenging classes, and I got really ahead in school, which was awesome. And then I remember season ends, my redshirt year is over, and I am in my coach's office having my end of the year meeting. And, you know, there wasn't a lot to say because I didn't play. So it wasn't like, how did your season go? I was just like, hey, like, thanks. I learned a lot. And I walked out of the meeting and I turned back right at the door. I was like, just about out of Paul's office. And I turned around, I looked him in the eye and said, Paul, we're going to win the next 4. And I closed the door and I just walked out, and we got 1. And then COVID happened, unfortunately. But that off season was really when I started coming into my own, and I knew I wasn't a freshman anymore. And it was a lot of really, really good training. Yeah,
you stayed relentless with your training, and you saw occasionally this guy named Ian Foyer, who's an amazing goalkeeper coach. And then you and I would be at the park a lot, and you were working on your fitness and your skills. And, you know, I don't do anything super fancy with you, but I wanted to at least help you be equipped that if your coaches here want you to drive the ball with your opposite foot, that you can do that, or whatever that is, you know. And as your dad, I wanted to help you with that. And certainly your mom is looking out for you at all times with that kind of stuff as well. And, as frustrating as it must have been when you got redshirted, you circle back to, well, why did you come here in the first place? Because you are a great student. And for you young athletes watching, I think, and parents, by the way, really for the parents of athletes, eventually there'll come a time, maybe when your kids want to start deciding what school to go to, and they have to be, everybody's got to talk about it openly. Like, what happens if you're redshirted your first year?
Right.
Will you still be happy being a student here?
Right.
Right? What happens if the coaches you adore who've been recruiting you, they all get fired or they move on to a different school? Will you still be happy there? What if you have an injury that keeps you out for a season, or a catastrophic injury that keeps you out for multiple seasons? Will you still be happy being a student at this school? And thankfully, you had.
Thankfully, the answer was yes. I honestly don't think this would have worked at any other school. I mean, I think you're such an athlete, and I mean, my biggest piece of advice for young athletes is like, do everything. Like, get out there and figure out like not who am I as an athlete, who am I as a point guard or a goalkeeper or like a first baseman. Figure out who you are as a person, and you'll be that much better off as an athlete, because that balance allows you to pick and choose when you really slam your foot on the gas.
Right.
Because you know, if I fail, I won't be nothing. Right. And I think there's a certain aspect to like having that grounding and that fearlessness of being in those really dark places and knowing that you can get out on the other side of it. Mm-hmm. And so like for me, my sophomore season, I wasn't even really like that worried about the outcome, because I knew it was better than not playing a single game.
True.
So even when I was rotating and I still like wasn't really sure about my role on the team, I knew that it was far better than what I had been doing. And I was just grateful for every single opportunity that I got. And obviously that season ended on quite the note. And I kind of want to hear like, what was that like for you and Mom? Like kind of seeing the whole journey.
Well, for those of you who don't know, and most of you watching, I'm assuming do, but if you don't, their final game was against the University of North Carolina. And I actually recommend for young soccer players to watch that game on YouTube, because I think that the battles happening all over the field in that game were incredible. That's one of the best soccer games, I think, even speaking objectively, for young athletes to watch. There's probably at least a dozen players from both teams that are in the pros now, and national team level players. Like, it's an amazing game. And from our point of view, it reminded me.
You guys were up there in the stands.
We were way up in the stadium.
It
was over at Avaya Stadium in San Jose, huge stadium that the pros play in. And they put the parents way up high
in the rafters.
In the rafters, and we played nice and stayed in our seats. And
even though you didn't want to,
no, I didn't want to,
especially in the UCLA game.
Yeah,
that one was worse. That one was worse.
Interesting.
That's a whole other story.
That's a whole other story for another time.
We never have to talk about it.
There can be misbehaving soccer parents at any level. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes.
And your game was interesting because it's a little bit of a metaphor for your journey as an athlete, in my opinion. Meaning, if someone would watch that whole game, nobody knows. You're not part of that game really a lot in the beginning.
No.
And it's just like, Stanford has a goalkeeper. She's over there. It's kind of an afterthought. And by the time the game ends in penalty kick fashion, you're able to make an impact for your team. And
right.
For me and your mom, it was interesting because we were up there with all the parents, and with about 10 minutes to go in the game, I kind of nudged her. I go, "This might be going to PK."
I remember it in overtime.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I was like, we were in my mind, like Sophie had hit the crossbar.
Right.
Carly had like shot it. Claudia, the goalkeeper on UNC, was making so many amazing saves.
Yep.
I was like, we're going to score. Like, we're going to win.
And I was like up there in the stadium going, they're not going to score because
that's how it goes.
Yeah. If they haven't scored by now,
that's how it goes.
It ain't happening.
Right.
And your mom started getting nervous, started grabbing my arm a little harder. And once it went to PKs, it reminded me of a story from when you were about 12 years old in a PKs.
Was it in the rain?
No, it was in the beautiful sunshine in the afternoon in an Albion tournament. And it went to PKs, little 12-year-old Katie doing PKs. Now you were out of your helmet by then.
Thank God.
And your knee pads was on.
God bless.
But I was filming it with my iPhone 3GS, best iPhone ever made, by the way. And your mom and I were sitting on the ground at the half line, and you were way over there, and it was PK time. And this might be another story that you don't remember from the dad point of view, okay? So I'm filming it, and the other team goes first, and then I think the first shot got by you, then your team went, and made it. And as the PKs were going on, I was hearing this sound, this as I'm filming through the phone.
Right.
And I'm looking 50 yards away at you through the phone, and I'm hearing this. And I'm like, what is happening?
What are you talking about?
What is going on? I'm trying to film my daughter here in PK, so I'm hearing this, and I keep the camera trained on you.
Okay.
And I look down to where I think the sound's coming from, and I see these hands tearing out grass and just throwing it and tearing it and throwing it. And that's your mother when you were 12.
I think Mom had a heart attack during the
She's the best. It was hilarious.
I think she had a heart attack.
And
now, what I remember
then I took
from
the
when
camera,
I was...
though. 1 second. I took the camera. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It was going to be cute, but you can keep going.
Hold that thought. So I go like this with the camera. I'm filming you, and then in between, I still hear it. So I didn't miss any action.
Right.
I hear it, and I just took the camera right down, just to get the shot of the
I've
hands.
seen that video.
Yes.
I've seen that video.
I don't know where it is anymore, but go ahead with your thoughts.
So what I remember from when I was 12, we would win in PKs, and I remember the thing that I would do is I would sprint across the field and jump into your arms.
Yes, you
and
did
it was,
that.
Yes. And
if you did that now, I might fall down.
I think I did do that when we won.
Yes, you did.
I think I did.
Yeah.
And one of the things that kind of mattered to me so much when I won was like, it was for not only my team and like, that's who I did it with. And I'll just always be so grateful for that group. And that was just like a really special team. But I remember doing it for like you and Mom and being like, no way.
Right.
Like we did it. And I remember there's so many videos, and I don't ever think I thought it would get that big and kind of scale like that. But I just remember there's one video where you can hear me crying on the ground because I'm a big crier, and it was just like, we did it. We did it. And I couldn't even like think about it. Now I have something. I don't even know if you know that I have this, but do you recognize this?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
So
I do.
This is in my locker, and I had to go get a little stand for it so that it would never get destroyed. And it's in my locker sitting here like this, and it's in the very back. So every time like I go to my locker, I see it, and sometimes I have to reread it to myself. And so this is a letter that my father wrote me before the start of that 2019 College Cup, because something that we do on our team is all the parents write letters for their kids to open the night before the first game. I kind of want to read it out loud.
You can read it. One other thing on before the College Cup, before you read that,
Right.
we were touching on like our perspective from when it went in, from the moment it was going to go to PKs, right?
Right.
So also from my point of view, when you were 12 doing PKs, going forward through there, anytime I saw it, it was like you loved it.
I did. I was obsessed with it. It was my favorite part of goalkeeping.
You freaking loved it. Win, lose, or draw,
I thought it was amazing.
Loved it.
I was never afraid of them.
There was one time at a tournament, I think, that didn't go your way. It was against Slammers at a Blues tournament at the ranch, I think they used to call it. And you'd done well in it. I think you saved a couple of them, actually.
Yeah.
But the team you were a part of at that time, one got skied, one went off frame or whatever. And you came off the field to me and you were pissed. And, it was okay, right? The father of the other keeper said, "Hey, you did a really good job out there saving a couple of those. You guessed right." And you go, I don't guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
I was so mad. I was like so offended. Oh my God. Yeah, I was so mad.
And so when your Stanford team went to PKs against North Carolina, a lot of us parents, a lot of everybody was freaking out or whatever.
Yeah.
Your mom felt like she wanted to throw up. And there was no grass up there in the stadium for her to tear apart.
No grass. What was she to do?
And almost like a bit of a psycho, I think my resting heartbeat slowed down.
That's how I felt.
Because I knew like win, lose, or draw.
Right.
this is what you're supposed to be.
This is what I'm supposed to do.
This is your moment.
There was
So
no,
get
and there
after
was
it
no thought in
and
my
have
mind.
fun. And
There's
so whatever happens,
no
happens.
thought in my mind that we would lose.
I think your coach at the time told you something similar too.
Yes. My coach at the time, Hideki, my goalkeeper coach, who I adore, he pulled me aside right before PK started, and he said, "Katie, this is why you came here."
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that, I think after he, about 2 years, a year and a half before then, he was sitting me down on the grass at the practice field,
right,
telling me that I was redshirting and that I wasn't good enough.
Right. So it's a journey in itself right there for you.
Then to hear from that very same coach, this is why you came here. I believe in you more than anything. That kind of fueled me, and I knew my teammates believed in me. And I think, we had talked before the game, and it was never like we need to do something crazy special. It was just we need to just do what we do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably the most invincible I've ever felt. I was like, it's just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that if Kennedy had missed that we would lose.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, there was no chance that we were going home without the natty. But
to me, even those PKs are a study in how to take PKs.
Oh my God, they're beautiful.
Because both sides have some classic, wonderful PKs.
Mm-hmm.
Even the first one that you saved, that shot got
that was a
ripped.
good PK.
Yeah,
that was a good PK.
That's a great game for, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. Ask your mom; she'll verify.
Yes.
And that's a great game for young soccer players to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then afterwards, I think running across the field, Dad.
And Mom.
And Mom was there too. Okay, this is great. And I don't really read this to anyone, but I think it is long overdue since you're on the show. Ahem. And my father is a great writer. There once was a little girl whose dad would set her upon a tall picnic table at a big dog park. And while dozens of dogs of all shapes and sizes were running around chasing each other, barking and having fun, little did that little girl know her dad would stand her up on that picnic table for 2 reasons. 1, so she could take a good look at the amazing world around her, for she loved watching all the dogs run and play. And 2, she could, if she wanted, leap off of that table, sail through the air into his sure arms and hands. Well, yes, she wanted to do exactly that, over and over and over. She just loved doing this, a giant smile every time as she jumped off the picnic table. But what was happening here may have been deeper than what appeared. Maybe there was a third reason that he put her up on that table. Sure, she's a little girl having fun, leaping into her father's arms. But what's more, she's a little girl developing a boldness and trust in herself and the ones that she loves, to actually make the leap. That boldness and trust in herself would remain ingrained in her throughout the years and go stronger and stronger as she journeyed her way through life. Now that little girl is 19, and I'm 22 now, so that's crazy. She's in college, but she's not majoring in leaping off of picnic table studies. Apparently, that major isn't currently available at her particular institution of higher learning. However, she is a goalkeeper for her school that she loves and teammates she trusts and adores and has thriving passion for going into battle with. That little leaping girl is now a fearless leader, a trusted teammate, one who puts the team's mission above herself, and one who, because of that boldness within, has faced and learned many clear lessons, and now has truly earned the position of being the last line of defense when her squad is under attack. That little girl is strong from the inside out, and she, and everything she's been through, lives within you, Katie. And though you're not little anymore, approach these games this weekend with the bold spirit of that little girl. Before the first game starts, get way up on that picnic table, take a good look at the amazing world around you, your teammates, coaches, friends, and family that adores you, and then, yes, leap. We love you, and we hope you have the time of your life. Now go WSFA, Dad.
Yeah.
It's a good letter, man. I know.
I'm glad you kept it.
It's in my locker. And I should read it more because I just remember I was so bold during that game. And then I think COVID happens.
Yeah, it happens. And
my friend passed.
And life happens. life happens. Like it's interesting.
Well, I remember you had to come up here.
Yeah, and I think like with your sister and both sisters and you, and like life is not easy, right? And someone has to believe in you 100% all the time. Like sports is hard, you lose, you make a horrible mistake. School is hard, you have things happen. Coaches, not your current coaches, but like other club coaches and stuff are on you guys hard. And I've always felt that, I sensed it early on in the soccer life, and then just as being a dad, and I know your mom feels the same way. If someone's not looking out for you guys at all times, it's really hard to expect a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 22-year-old just to go, I'm hearing all this negativity and experiencing all this negativity around me, and by gosh, I'm still confident.
Right.
That's really hard to expect. Someone's got to be a net for a person, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's just my take on it. And so I'm glad you kept the letter.
Yeah.
I want you to read it once in a while here and there.
I do.
And, and stay bold. Why not? Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro.
I had another story that just popped into my head, but I forgot it.
It's okay. We've told a lot of stories.
That's true. Are we over time yet?
I mean, it's been 1 hour and 14 minutes. There's a little clock right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're not having fun.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could kind of wrap it up on that. There's just, I mean, I could keep talking for another 5 hours about
I could too. I mean,
the entire thing. There's so many things we didn't talk about.
Yeah. Left turns in life.
I mean, there are so many things about you that we also didn't talk about.
I don't know if we need to, but
I mean, just tell us what are you doing now? And how? Okay, I have two very pointed questions, and then we can be done. Mom, sorry, but my two very pointed questions are: number one, what is a lesson that, and this can go for your life or for mine, but I've been kind of chewing on this. Is what do you think a lesson is that someone just has to learn on their own? Because I know that you and mom have been like really involved, and you've tried to protect me and my sisters from all of these things and have our backs. But whether it's from your life or like your daughter's lives, like what is something that you could tell me to the moon, or you could tell your younger self to the moon, but you just had to live it? And then my other question is, how has this journey kind of influenced the way that you're going to go about the next 10 to 20 years of your life?
Okay, a lesson you just have to learn.
Yeah.
The hard way. Is it a Prius?
Stop!
You can get a
I'm trying to be serious.
You can get one hell of a speeding ticket in a Prius. I think a lesson that you can hear about from parents and elders and peers is like, after some type of failure, whether it's in sports or your schoolwork or your career, that if you just keep grinding and remain open-minded, it may actually be an opportunity to do something else.
Right.
That sounds sort of like idealistic, but I think it's true. I do. It's happened to me many times, and it's happened to many people. But I think you hear about it, you're like, yeah, but you got to live it. Keep grinding after failing, and sometimes not only will you succeed in what you were doing, but you may end up finding a whole different path that you did not expect.
Right.
Yeah. What was your other question?
That's a great answer, by the way. But my final question is, how has this journey influenced what you want to do with the next phase of your life?
Well, it's already influenced what I'm doing with this phase of my life, which is leading to the next phase of my life. I may find myself writing in sitcoms again. That was gratifying. It's fun to make people laugh. And I worked in kids TV, as you know, for about the last 12 years, and then regular TV prior to that. And some of the shows I worked on, it was nice because we'd get letters, my daughter's in the hospital and she just loves the show, and it'd be a dream for her to come visit, blah, blah, blah. It's really sweet. But helping in any little way I could with you has evolved into a whole thing with me now. I just finished coaching a junior high team and helping out at the high school where your little sister plays with that team. And I work with all kinds of soccer players now, I had a little 8-year-old this morning named Naya. Yeah. Hi, Naya, if you're watching.
Hi, Naya.
And all the way up to your age.
Yeah, we still train.
From AYSO to national team players. But I don't do anything fancy. I don't claim to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. You know, I want to just help equip you to go into your battles and whatever your coaches want.
And also to just keep it fun. Keep it your journey. You know, I think that's probably one of the most unique things about the way that we trained.
Yeah.
It was never the Steve show. No. Like it was never like, oh, let me record this so then I can put this on my coaching Instagram or something like that.
I wouldn't want that. I would never want to do that.
It was always like, what do you want to do? I have this idea, like, let's try it. And it's always still about the player.
Yeah, it has to be.
Right. And that keeps it fun. It keeps it exciting. Yeah. It makes it feel like, okay, this is actually your sport. This is your thing.
Right. And it's for you to get better.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can or you can't, but
yeah.
Damn.
It's just like horseshoe pitching.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll end up taking it even more seriously on the formal side of it and trying to become like a head coach somewhere.
That'd be sick.
But, you know, the soccer purists might go, well, you didn't play and like, you know, you don't know all this and that. And then my first thought is, I wonder how good of a football player Bill Belichick was. I don't know that he was a legendary football player. You know, but who's to know? Yeah. Maybe I'll end up back at writing again. We'll see.
We'll see.
What I do know is I like driving up here to see you.
Oh, yeah. He drove all the way here.
Yeah, I just got here a little while ago. He
drove all the way here to do this and to hang out with me tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, what a good journey. And I think there's still a lot left to it.
Yeah. What about your next fall here? What's going on with the team? You promised 4, you've only gotten 1 so far.
I know. I need to make good on my promise. Team is doing well. We're in off season right now, and that is an exciting process that we have going on, and we're really building, and we're seeing a lot of people improve, and the team's improving. People get excited, and I think we're finally kind of coming out of the fog of COVID, and hopefully that gives us a little bit more control and, like, you know, you never really want to make an excuse, but our team really struggled during the pandemic.
Yeah.
More than I thought that we would.
In fairness to you guys, being here in the Bay Area and
in Santa Clara County.
County and everything, you had major restrictions. Mm-hmm. And I think between your coaching staff and the character of the team, maybe to your detriment in the long run athletically, but you guys really seem to play along very fiercely with the mandates, and it's hard as a team to stay super sharp if you're not training and you're sitting in your dorm room for hours and hours a day,
right?
And then ultimately you guys get a little bored and you go adopt a dog. What is that true? Did that happen?
Yeah, I do have a dog. She's at home.
Do you?
Yeah, I miss her. I keep asking you to give her back, and
it's my dog.
Yeah, Steve loves my dog. Hey, Zona.
Yeah.
But yeah, next fall should be great. We will see, and it'll be fun as we keep doing these little episodes. Whoever's the next guest, like, we'll keep kind of sticking with that development of seeing what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Can people type in questions on this?
I think so. I'm not quite sure. Maybe.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Mom did. Oh. Hi, my loves.
Oh, hi.
Steve. Yeah, they look good. Okay, well, I think that
does it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
I think that just about wraps it up.
Covers it. I think that does cover it. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your big sister. Mm-hmm. She's an amazing teacher. Like, this is, I bet, like, the more people know her, they wish they could go in a time machine and become a 5th grader so that she could be their teacher.
She could be their teacher. I know. I'm going to try and get her into the D school over here.
And excited for your little sister. She had a great high school season.
I want a Sienna episode. I'm actually I'm pissed. I told her that she should just get in the car and come.
Yeah.
But she said she wants her own episode.
She's already got quite a story to tell. And we'll see where that leads. And so thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
I hope my Prius makes it home.
We got work to do before then. We're going to the mall parking garage.
No, yeah, we could do that.
Well, I actually can't do that right now. But maybe next week.
Okay. Love you, kiddo.
Love you too, Dad.
You're the best.
Thanks, man. You're the best. Okay. Good night. Go Rams.